Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of MouseMinds. We are live for you on Facebook and YouTube, as always, coming to you on every Tuesday night. And I am joined by my amazing co-host here, and let me unmute their mics, Lisa and Michael. Hello, guys.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right, so we are live for you this week, and Lisa has come up with our topic for the week. We actually are going to do two things. First, I wanted to give my quick rundown of my recent visit to the newly reimagined 1900 Park Fair. And then after that, as picked by Lisa, we are going to do our 5 must-dos at Walt Disney World. Now, of course, if you have gone to Disney World in the last 10 years, longer than that, you would have seen good old Stacy on the screen, who has her must-dos for the parks. And we are going to go through our must-dos for the parks as well. So we will do that here in a little bit here. So everybody has their 5 must-dos for. We'll keep it at Walt Disney World because I think we can get some pretty good topic out of that. But what we are going to do first is we are going to go into our review of 1900 Park Fair, which I went to recently. This is, of course, the reimagined 1900 Park Fair, which is a awesome time. I had an awesome time there, even though there was not much there for me to eat, which we'll talk about in a second here. So, we recently, I've been trying for a while. Michael and Lisa know of my struggle. I've been trying for a while to get a reservation at 1900 Park Fair, and it is a bit of a chore. So what I did was I finally found one, and I got in. And then when I got in, I realized that I picked the wrong day, and I picked Sunday instead of Saturday. So then I had to go back in, and I did, as they say, pound the app or pound the website, where I just kept refreshing the screen and seeing what would pop up. And lo and behold, a reservation for Saturday popped up, and it was at 8:15 in the morning, and I still wasn't happy with that, but I took it anyways. And then I, of course, kept pounding the website, and then eventually an 11 reservation showed up. So that was absolutely fantastic. And if you don't already know, 1900 Park Fair is a world famous restaurant that is at the Grand Floridian. It is located on the first floor next to the Grand Floridian Cafe, and there's a shot of it on our screen for those of you who are watching live. And this restaurant is fantastic because it's always been a great buffet. It's a character buffet, and it is fantastic, and they have a lot of great character interactions going on there. But the star of the show at the 1900 Park Fair, which everyone always remembers, is the Calliope that sits in the back there, that plays music, so on and so forth. In the back there, they do it, I think, every hour. I don't remember. They didn't do it when I was there, but I'm pretty sure they said they still are utilizing it. They just weren't utilizing it that day. So this restaurant has been reimagined, basically from the top to the bottom. They've redone the seating inside, added new seating. As you can kind of see here, the seats are brand new and very plush, and in kind of a new fancy yet modern luxury theme, Floridian theme. They've also added these amazing portraits on the walls of different Disney princesses on the walls as well. So there's a lot of different princesses and other Disney characters on the walls there too, and it is absolutely gorgeous inside there, which is crazy because it's just a small, I wouldn't say small room, but it's a large room. It's an open room, but there's not much more theming than that other than the Calliope, and you can see in the paintings on the wall, there's not much more than that. Of course, now this is a buffet, which at the time of me going there for adults, I want to say it was $55, and for kids, I want to say it was $39. So it is not a inexpensive meal, and this was for breakfast, by the way. I went there for breakfast, and it's about $10 more expensive for dinner, if I'm not mistaken. So this is not an inexpensive meal by any means. But for one of those, it's one of those things you kind of, you have to do once if you're a Disney fan, just because it is that amazing. And it just reopened, and I was very excited, so I had to try it out. Now, speaking of the restaurant itself, the character interactions were amazing. I met Snow White. I met Tiana. I met Aladdin. And of course, the ever elusive Mirabelle, who was in love with my daughter's Encanto backpack. So we had an awesome time meeting all the characters there. It was fantastic. They came and gave us probably some of the best character interactions that I've ever had at Walt Disney World. Because typically, character interactions at Walt Disney World are sort of a production line. They get you in, you wave at the character, and then they kick you out. This wasn't the case here at 1900 Park Fair, and considering the price I paid for breakfast, I'm glad it was not. The characters were very interactive. They came around and chatted with you for a while, hung out for a while. They didn't leave until till they made sure that you got all your pictures and everything else that you wanted, and they kind of hung out for a while and chatted with you. So that was fantastic. We even when we got there, we had just missed Mirabelle, I guess, and she actually came back to our table and saw us again and we had a great experience with her at our table. And she hung out with us for a while. One of uh, the cast members, one of the character handlers, uh, basically came by our table and was asking us, if we'd seen all the characters, and then we said no, and then she brought Mirabelle over. So it was actually a really good experience. Now, it is, like I said, not an inexpensive meal, but it is one of those things that I do agree that you should definitely try once. Um, of course, while you're at the parks, it's actually a really nice meal. If I was not a vegetarian, there would be a lot of things that I would love on there. And there's a lot of things that looked really good, and of course, they have a carving station as well at that price point. There's always a carving station. So it does justify the price a little bit. Um, but as a vegetarian, the really only thing that they had for me on the buffet was a tofu scramble, which was absolutely delicious. I ate a ton of it, and of course there was waffles and everything else. So and I can eat cheese, so there was potatoes with cheese. There was some hash browns with cheese and things like that. So it wasn't a complete wash, and they were very accommodating. I did ask for other things. They made me an eggs Benedict without the ham and other things that were really fantastic. So they went above and beyond and were really nice about everything. Now, the only thing that I will say that was other than them, there not being a large selection for vegetarians, which there was choices, so I can't fault them at that. And I've I got the same response from other vegetarians I know that have been there, that they kind of had to piece things together and make their own meal. And if you're vegan, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time. But I've heard some vegans that went there. They kind of piece things together, and they got their money's worth out of it. I mean, realistically, the characters alone are kind of worth the price of admission here, but the food is good too. The only negative that I would say, other than the food, is the there's there's a there's kind of a time limit here at this restaurant, and when you're paying that much for food, they do kind of rush you, and I'll explain how. So when you get into the restaurant, they give you a card at your table with all the character signatures on it. Pretty standard thing that you would get at any character interaction. Now they have it pre-signed for you, so on and so forth. And we were supposed to have Cinderella too, but Cinderella was not there that day. So the card on the other side is blank, so you can fill out your wishes on the card. What you want to be when you grow up, what your wishes, whatever your wishes are. And I would say about halfway through our meal, after the characters had come by, we were about halfway through. They had a wish ceremony, which was actually very cute. They had you hold your cards up and say I wish, and there was like a whole thing. I don't remember the whole thing, but there was a whole ceremony. So the characters came out and kind of stood around all the tables and participated in the ceremony. And Snow White was right in front of us, and she participated. And my daughter really enjoyed it, and she had a great time with it. What I will say though was interesting was after the ceremony was over, I was like almost immediately brought the check, like immediately. And mind you, I was only halfway through my meal. So and the server felt really bad about it. I could tell because he put the check down. He's like, "I'm sorry. This is procedure. This is what we do. Like, we do this every time." And I was just like, "Okay, you know, that's fine." And then, I just like just like any other meal. Once I'm brought the check, I just pay it, and because I want to get it out of the way, so I'm not worried about it, and I can just continue eating. So I went ahead and paid it, and and then the server basically said, "Hey, it's been great serving you," and like he was done. Like he was just that was it. It was over. Like he was gonna leave. So we kind of got like our last bit of food, and then went back to the table, ate, and left. So I did feel kind of rushed, which I mean, I know like people are like, "Oh, there's a lot of reservations to get to," and so on and so forth. But I mean, we had only been there for maybe like 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes tops. And you got to figure between walking up to the buffet, getting the food, waiting, me specifically waiting for food to come out of the kitchen because the stuff I was ordering, a lot of it was not on the buffet. So they had to make it special for me because they had the most amazing plant-based waffles that were almost like cake. They tasted like cake. They were delicious. Plant-based Mickey waffles. But being there 25 minutes and then basically getting handed the check, I felt a little rushed. But that was the only thing. And I understand, Disney wants to get you in and out so they can move more tables. That's how buffets work in general. The more tables you turn, the more money you make. So I understand that. But again, at that price point, I think that's not warranted per se. I don't know how the rest of you would feel about that, but I mean, like at Chef Mickey's, I don't ever remember there being a thing at like Chef Mickey's where I've ever felt rushed. And I've been to Chef Mickey's a ton of times. And I've been to 1900 Park Fair before when it was went into refurbishment and it was never a thing. So I hope this is not a new thing that comes across all Disney restaurants. Now, of course, this is their first month. They've only been open like 3 weeks. As of the time I went there, it was like 3 weeks. So they haven't been open that long. Um, as we stated before, they don't have any discounts for pass holders. So if you are a pass holder, prepare not to have a discount. The cast members there said once they're open for 30 days, maybe they'll have a discount. Who knows? So I wasn't too concerned about that. I knew everything going in, what it was going to cost, and that's fine. I've wanted to eat here so bad for so long. That didn't bother me. But like I said, the only thing that bothered me the entire meal was feeling kind of rushed. And once I paid, it was like, oh, it's over, and I was not going to get any more service. And our server kind of did disappear, and I'm sure that was, he's trained to do that. So other than that, it was a fantastic meal. The characters were great. They went out of their way to make sure that they made extra things that I could eat. Like I said, if you're a vegan and you're going to this restaurant, unless you're going for the characters, just skip it. You're not going to have a lot of things to eat. I'm going to try the dinner as well just to try it. I know I'm probably going to have a similar experience, but I want to try it just to try it because I know, you know, my my daughter will want to go. So eventually I'll get there for dinner and I'll when I, can find the time to actually get a reservation because that was work in itself too, getting a reservation. So yeah, if you are not a vegetarian, um, there's a ton of food. There are tons of things for you to eat. It is a very nice breakfast buffet. It'll definitely, if you eat there in the morning, don't plan on eating lunch because I couldn't eat until like 5 or 6 o'clock again. We ate so much food. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. But like I said, just be mindful that you might be a little rushed. Which, like again, I've said I've never experienced that at Disney. Usually, usually they're pretty mindful of things like that because you're paying that much to eat at that restaurant. They're pretty
Right.
mindful of things like that, but in this case, that was not the case.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to push things along
Mhm.
quickly. But 20 to 30 minutes at a restaurant like that doesn't seem quite long enough.
And I don't know if it's because of the way the seatings go. Like, were we supposed to be seated at a certain time and our time took longer? I don't know if it's just because it was like luck of the draw. Like, if we would have gotten there, because like I said, Mirabelle had already come to our table. So, did we miss like? I'm sure there's some sort of plan where you know, the 4 characters or how many characters is come to your table, then they do the ceremony, and it's like they've got it all timed out how long all of this takes. But I mean,
Right.
doing all that is a lot of work. I mean, you're seeing 4 characters at minimum, and then you're going back and forth to the buffet. And I mean, we were sitting right next to the buffet, which was nice. But if you're sitting further away, you got to take that in time too, walking to the buffet, walking back. If you order anything, because I know you can order omelets and things like that as well. If you order anything, that'll take time. So all these things add up. And then when you look at that 20-30 minute, time that you've had, dinner, it's or breakfast, it's not a lot of time.
No, it's not. And I think of me taking it character dining. Traditionally, I've usually done. I
Hmm.
know it's a shock with my children. So I think, oh my gosh, me taking even back in the day, they probably wouldn't all enjoy this now, but five, trying to feed 5 kids and however many adults are in
Hmm.
with my best friend, you know, her 2 kids and her and I, like, who knows? I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine 20 to 30 minutes meeting characters. They would still be excited about meeting characters. They wouldn't have ate not even enough to pay for the experience. I
Yeah.
do remember it's been a while since I've been to Tusker House, but they kind of had, you met all the characters
Hmm.
and then but they gave us all the time we needed. Like I didn't ever feel rushed. I was trying to think of any of the character any of the character meals. Everyone had came and I brain thinking of Tusker House in specific,
Hmm.
just because we were there a long time because one of my kids was
Yeah.
having a meltdown. But I did feel like they were ready for us to go.
Yeah.
However, we had to just stay in place while things calmed down and then could leave.
And
But,
that's I mean, that's at prime real estate though. I get it. That's the
mhm,
Animal Kingdom. I mean, that's an in-park restaurant. Like I kind of understand that. Again, like I don't agree with it, but I kind of get
mhm,
that, but 1900 Park Fair, I mean, I don't know. I understand they're trying to turn tables. I understand it's very hard to get into. But at the same time, it's like, come on, you could have given me just a little bit more time
yes.
to enjoy my food and not feel rushed.
Well, it's kind of like meeting characters in the park. If if you feel like sometimes the characters will spend such a long time with you, and then sometimes you feel very rushed. So, I don't know. Now I'm kind of apprehensive about going because that is a big part of that experience. Very
I mean,
interesting.
I would definitely say it's something to go to. Don't let my experience discourage you from going. Just be mindful that that may happen, and if that's the case, just you know, when they bring the bill to your table, just don't pay it yet. I mean, as long as you have the bill, they can't. I mean, they're not going to stop serving you because they want you to pay. So, I mean,
That's a
I
good thought too. Maybe he would have not left right away if
that's
he had paid.
that's what I was thinking when I left because I was like, well, if I didn't pay the bill, he would have just, he would have kept coming over to check on me because I hadn't paid yet. But I was, but as soon as he brought the check back for me to sign, it was, hey, have a great day, and at that point, like whether or not he would have served me or not, I still felt like okay, it's time for me to go. Like when someone says have a great day and you're like, okay, well maybe they're like kicking me out. Like,
Mhm,
like your instinct is to just leave because it's like, okay, it's my time to go. So I'm not going to get any more service. You're thinking you're not going to get any more service, so it's time to go. So that may have not have been like the case in his mind.
mhm,
I have misread that situation, but it seemed pretty clear. I mean, when you hear that, it's like, that's how I think most people would take it. So I just wish that they would be mindful of that at the price point that they're charging. Now I know a lot of people are on vacation and
mhm.
this may be some sort of dining plan or some sort of package, or they may have something else going on, and it may not mean that much to them because they want to get to the parks. But it that was kind of the one of the main highlights of our day was doing that breakfast because I looked forward to it for so long. But I can tell you this, I mean, all the food that I had was absolutely excellent. The strawberry soup is just as amazing as it always was. The eggs Benedict that I had without because I do eat eggs, but that without the ham on there was fantastic. The cheesy potatoes were amazing. I wish they had some sort of like impossible sausage or something, some sort of fake meat on either on the buffet or in the back that they could cook for you. Um, but the waffles were great. Everything that I had was fantastic. So no faults there. It just wasn't
Yeah,
a lot of food. I had to eat kind of the same things over and over again, which is fine.
right, and
Um,
I'm thinking that some in my party would be eating very similar to what you ate, and
hmm.
maybe they will ramp up the other options at some point
Now,
soon.
let me see here. There was one other thing that was a major hit there, and this is like disaster for parents of little ones. And I don't know if I still have a picture of it or not. Let me see. Because one of the things that they did have there, let me see if I can find a picture of it. Uh, I don't have a picture of it. But one of the things they did have on the buffet, which was very strange, it was like out of the blue. And this was eh, at all Disney buffets, they have the regular buffet and then they have a kids section. And the kids section is always a lot lower so the kids can reach the food. And then they have like pizza and things like that. And of course, they had like a breakfast pizza and they had some waffles on there and I think French toast sticks or something. And there were some other things the kids liked. But one of the things they did have there was a gummy bear machine. It was just a machine that spit out gummy bears. And I just saw so many kids going up there and getting bowls and just filling these big bowls full of gummy bears. And I'm thinking, oh my God, those poor parents, the sugar rush that is coming. Luckily, I my daughter restrained and did not have it. She eyed it, but I told her, let's not. But I saw so many parents that were just letting their kids have free reign of the buffet, which honestly, I mean, that in itself is I mean, some of these kids were like 4 or 5 years old. I wouldn't let them up there on their own, but that's fine. But they were letting them have free reign of the buffet, and that this is what they were loading up on. So,
I think you raise an excellent point. As an adult, never ever take food from the lower half where the little kids can touch the food and they're grabbing it by their hands.
Yeah.
That's the last place you
yeah,
go to for food. Go to the part where they can't reach, just for your own
I didn't even
safety.
think
I
You
that.
don't go home
an
with germs
excellent.
or little kid slobber, and you got to know how to deal with it.
I
But
had front
I,
row
I,
seat to that section. It was literally right in front of me, and you don't know. I mean, at one point, I saw a kid rub his nose and then grab at the food. I saw all kinds of things, unspeakable terrors.
so if anyone got anything out of this, it's know how to eat at a buffet.
Yes.
So
Oh,
now, did you say that card they gave you was for signatures or were the characters signing?
No, it was already signed.
Okay,
So it
so
was
they're
like a
cutting
card.
down that part.
Yeah, they
Um,
don't do. I guess that's another time saver right there
yep.
because now you're not having to have the characters actually sign things. And I think too they do it for like consistency, so you get the same signature every time. Because when I was growing up, you saw Pluto 5 different. I have I have autograph books and may have 5 Pluto signatures in there, and each one is different. So I can understand from a consistency standpoint why you'd want something like that. But then again, it does cut down on time too, which they're trying to maintain as well.
Yep. So now the other thing, and this goes for everybody, you handled that buffet wrong. When they hand you that check and they tell you you are done, you tell them, "Oh, we're not finished eating yet."
Yeah,
They
I should.
can't stop you from getting the buffet. If they stop serving you beverages, you grab any other server that comes by, and eventually
Oh,
your server will get the hint.
and they
And
have
if you are
beverages on the buffet, so I could have done that too.
okay, so you got that. And if they
Yeah.
really do start rushing you out, that is directly reflected in your tip. So you are in complete control there, or you should have been. Do
That's
not let
true.
them tell you you and your daughter are done and it's time to leave.
That
We
is a good
haven't
point.
started yet, sir.
I will
We,
I will keep that in mind for dinner for sure.
we took two friends to Boma one night. Okay, different atmosphere, a lot bigger place, no characters, but at no point, I mean, the server we had was great. It was a little later in the evening. He let us sit there and just close the place down, but there were not 100 other people waiting for tables at that point. So I think depending upon, and you went on a weekend, most likely, I wonder if a Tuesday morning might have been better than a Saturday or a Sunday morning.
That's
So
true.
many variables there, but at least you got in because you'd still be pounding out that website trying to get a reservation. So I'm glad you at least got to try it. That's awesome.
Yeah. It took a lot of doing and checking, but I can tell you that, people say that to pass holders all the time is pound the app, and it does actually work. For the most part it works, especially for harder to get into restaurants. You can find now you can't be necessarily picky about your time. I still think that I got lucky to get the time that I did, extremely lucky, because getting that at 11, what did I get at 11:30 for I think was my time, or it was 11, 10:30 or 11, but I couldn't be picky. I took a gamble, and I just kept checking the website but not actually changing my reservation. And then eventually something popped up and I grabbed it right there in the spot, which I'll do the same thing for dinner. But yeah, you can't necessarily be picky. You get what you get, and then that's it.
Do they do all 3 meals there, or is it 2 meals?
Just two: lunch, dinner, and breakfast. And
Okay,
then
so then there is no reason why. I mean, I can't imagine breakfast running any later than 12. So
yeah,
how many people at an 11:30 meal are they trying to get out? I know they want to close the place down, but there shouldn't have been too many other people waiting for tables at that late hour if they're not shifting and rotating over to a lunch meal.
that's true. And the other thing I'll tell you too about pounding the app is don't put in the amount of people that are actually going. This is a huge thing with Disney reservations. If you are 2 people, try it. You have 3 different ways to try it: 2, 4, and 5. Always do it that way, because if you put in 2, they only have a small amount of 2-person tables. They only have a certain amount of 4-person tables, and they only have a amount of tables that go for groups of 5 and higher. So if you keep adjusting your party size, you'll see different times pop up on the screen. I do it every time. And
And
if you put in 4, the difference between putting in 2 and 4 is night and day. There are way more reservations for 4 people or 3 people than there are for 2 people, because of the fact that you have way more tables that seat 4 people, because that's the normal amount that they get. So
which
always keep
is,
that in mind. It's a weird
I
workaround.
go ahead. 'Cause now you triggered me here, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was one night, my wife was away. I said, all right, I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom. I enjoyed the meal at
Mhm.
Liberty Tree. So I'm going to get myself a Liberty Tree reservation. Liberty Tree is booked. So I said, I'll go to Golden Horseshoe, spill over, same menu, same kitchen, whatever.
Yep.
I put in 1 and 2 people. The latest I could eat was like 3:45, 4 o'clock, and there were no dinner reservations. So I put in 4 or 5 people. Everything opens up. So I call up the reservations. I say, look, I'm having trouble. She goes, oh, no. We only have, and I told her, I understand that you are going to get as many people as you can for a bigger bill during these more popular lunch periods. And she insisted, no, it's table size. When I got there were no 2-person tables. All the tables were exactly the same size, could accommodate the same amount of people. So don't give me this all the person table nonsense, because lady, when I got, no such thing. They do want to accommodate more people. So they lied to me right there on the phone. And when I got there and I sat, same deal. But I also I had to take a reservation during the parade, which I don't care to watch the fireworks.
Well, I think in that instance, don't blame the person on the phone, because they were probably told that's the way it is, and they probably had not been there to see. But I can tell you at 1900 Park Fair, there were 2-person tables. There was like 2 of them.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the venue.
Yeah, but they're always going to try to get more people in there. But keep in mind, if you book for 4 and like 2 of you show up, you're not going to get penalized for that, as long as you show up to the reservation. Because I know you put a credit card guarantee now on reservations. So if you book for, if you book for 4 and 2 people show up, they're not going to penalize you, because you did show up for the reservation. Because anything can happen. I mean, you could have 4 and then 2 could not show up. They're not going to penalize you for that. So, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So
I've learned. So now I just book for 10 automatically, and I let them think they're going to have a huge bill, and then I walk in by myself. Sorry, the other 9 people died, and they won't be here, and it's just me, and serve me. So it's a good trick, and it works. And that, you're right, it does get you other options for meal times.
The best part about that is based off of Michael's engagement in the pass holders group, I can actually see him saying that the 9 other people died.
Absolutely.
Having a whole story about how they died.
I have done that twice. At first they're worried, but when they realize that 9 people did not die because there was no story on the news, then they realize he's full of it, but we got to feed this character anyway.
I don't even know.
I can only imagine.
Don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. That's all.
Oh my God.
You have these stories in your pocket just for the occasion, right?
Part to entertain and part just to make sure I'm treated well.
Wow.
And see, I'm so easygoing. I would probably go with the flow, but I don't cause a big ruckus anywhere. You, on the other hand, you don't care if everyone's looking.
No. I don't need to be liked. I just don't spit my food.
Yeah. You don't need to be liked.
No.
There you go.
Robert will vouch for that.
Oh my God. Wow. I mean, I could totally see this happening. Don't get me wrong. I could totally see this happening. And I honestly, like I said, I do agree with you. You have to go in there and put in large amounts, because they will always accommodate it. It's like they always have more availability for larger parties than they do for smaller parties. And I understand they want that business. I get it. But, my money is just as green. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. We all need to eat. So.
And to be fair with you, I mean, you're like a repeat customer. I mean, I get it. Like I love Liberty Tree. I'll go to Liberty Tree all the time. Like, it's not, I mean, I'll be a repeat customer there as well, So I totally understand that. So, I mean, I've been dealing with the Disney reservation system for many years, and it hasn't changed in many years, and it's not going to change anytime soon. So, yes. All right. So did anybody else have anything they want to say about that or the Disney reservations?
I'm just really glad to hear that you and your daughter were able to get in there, because I know how important it was that you wanted to take her, and you've been working so hard to get that reservation. It's when it pays off. So I'm glad you had a happy ending there.
Yeah. And I will say the experience at the Grand was a fantastic experience. I will tell people, if you are going there, that is some place that, even on a random Saturday in the month of April, you can have a fantastic day at. After we left the restaurant, we walked around the lobby for a little bit, hung out for a little while, and then we ran into on the second floor, just by the elevator there, the open elevator there. They have a place set up for a photo pass photo shoot. So you can actually do a photo shoot on the second floor, and they have all kinds of props. They have the glass slipper. They have a giant book like your Belle reading a book. They have all kinds of different props, and it was actually pretty amazing. And I personally always look for photo pass things like this because I want to get the money I spent for photo pass on my annual pass, get use out of it. And these things are fantastic, and the cast member was excellent. She spent about 20-30 minutes with us, doing all different kinds of photos and shots, and I wound up with about 40 photos, I think it was, that I got out of that little photo shoot, and it was absolutely fantastic. And those photos are things that you look back on forever. So definitely, spend some time if you're at the Grand, just enjoying the lobby and enjoying that area. I know we spent almost half the day in there between breakfast and then doing that, and it was really fantastic. It was a great experience. I would totally do it all over again, and of course I will, because I'm going to go back for dinner.
Well, I know we talked about it the one time, but never devalue a day of resort hopping.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much to do, especially if it's too hot and you don't want to be in the parks, or you've done the parks already, or you just need a break. As long as you can get around, or if especially when you have a car. I used to take one day on my 5-day trip just to resort hop.
Yeah.
So rewarding.
And I saw some stuff the other day on, speaking of resort hopping, someone had posted this the other day, and I saw this, and it's something that I'm personally going to take advantage of, which is this here. Let me throw it on the screen here. This is something that they're doing at the Contemporary, and this is a Magics of Mosaic. And basically you get to make mosaic artwork, and this is at the Contemporary, and they have like Mickey shaped outlines that you can do the mosaics in. They had some Mary Blair stuff from the five-legged goat inside on the Contemporary mural there by Mary Blair. And this is another thing that I think this was $20 or $25 for this experience. And they do it at the Contemporary, and you get to create this artwork. And then, a nice little group setting there, and it actually looked really amazing. So this is something personally, me and my friends are going to go and check out ourselves, and I'll probably take my daughter too, because it looks like a lot of fun. And it's not a park that's at a resort. So the resorts, if you take the time to do a little research, all of the resorts have activities like this that you can do, that you probably don't know about. There's always something going on. I mean, they have hula lessons at the Polynesian. That's free. You can just go in the lobby and do hula lessons. The photo shoot at the Grand. They have music in the lobby at the Grand all the time. There's, they have the piano in there. They do the music all the time. I mean, all of the deluxe resorts typically, and the DVC resorts have, activity centers, things like that you can go to as well and partake in, the activities that they have there as well. So it is definitely something, you're right. A day at the resorts, you can spend a lot of time just exploring the different areas and really enjoying the different themes and things like that. Especially if you go to if you say go to start at Magic and do all the monorail resorts, and then head over to Epcot, the Epcot area resorts, and kind of explore those resorts. That's a lot. There's a lot of resorts right there in those two areas for you to explore. You could spend a whole day. You could spend 2 days almost exploring all those different resorts and areas.
And for anyone that would be balking at the $25 cost for something like the Mosaic, think how much money you'd be wasting in the park.
Yeah.
On a snack that you cannot take home with you once you eat it. So you got a nice keepsake there that you made yourself, or your daughter made herself. Reasonable price, and It's probably a lot less than you would have blown at the Magic Kingdom on some balloon or some churro. So.
Exactly, and it's something. It's not only a souvenir, but unlike just going and buying something, it's an experience that you'll remember forever, and that when you look at that, you'll be like, hey, remember we made this, and it'll mean a lot more than just buying a balloon or buying a toy. as much as, my daughter loves to, you know, goes through, I can't take her in the Emporium because she'll want everything in there. I doing an experience like this, it's much better because you get the experience. Plus, you're also learning how to do mosaics. This is an opportunity to learn how to do that as well. So something like that is very advantageous for me because there's so many things that you get out of it, and it's only $25.
You and Lisa both have younger children. You get a mix there, but younger
Mhm.
children. So think about 10 years from now when you pull that thing out of a box.
Mhm.
Remember when we made this? So there's your reminder. So good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Let me see here. I have the price here. It is $25, and they do it in the Outer Rim, which is the bar across from the Contempo Cafe, and right next to Mickey's, our Chef Mickey's. So be on the lookout for that. They do that during the week. I don't know if they do it on the weekends. You'd have to check with the resort and see the exact times. But that is something that they do. So be on the lookout for little experiences like that. They have them all over the different resorts, and there's always little things that are not as well known that you can experience at the resorts. So really take that time to enjoy those things. Now,
I wonder what the tipping price point is. For one daughter, that's fine, but if you have 2 or 3 children, are you going to spend $75 to $100 on mosaics?
true.
25 not a big deal until you have multiple people doing it. So I wonder what that
Well,
threshold. And I guess that's individual for everyone.
And I would imagine too that you could probably, that's probably for the kid. So if you wanted to, if not everybody had to have one, and you could have, the two, let's say you have 2 daughters and they could work on it together or something
Together.
like that. That's something
Sure.
that, is a good bonding experience for them, as well as, it cuts down on the cost a little bit. So, those are things that you could always look at too. But I get it. Saying it as one person, you're right. It's not, $25, not that much. But then again, a 1 day ticket to Disney into the parks is, almost $200. So even if you buy 4 of those, you're still saving a lot of money on a park ticket. And if you do that and enjoy the pool, there you go.
The
Plus you're not
parks will
accounting
always
for
be
the fact
there.
that
Something like this won't be.
yeah.
So, they're going to rotate it out eventually, and it's going to be too late. And then somebody's going to go, oh, we always meant to do that. Parks aren't going anywhere. Take advantage of these experiences.
That and that kind of feeds into the topic that we were going to go into with the must do's, because I honestly feel like this is something like this for me is a must do at the parks. I know we could sit here and ramble off all the attractions that we love and all the things inside the parks that we love, but these little things are what make Disney unique and provide, you know, the attractions are so, the parks are so, I want to say anxiety filled, but there's so much planning involved, getting the Genie Plus and picking your ride times and then doing the virtual queues and all this. This is something that you can literally walk up to, get in. You don't have to worry about not getting in. You don't have to worry about necessarily planning it out. You can show up whenever you want to. It's a lot more relaxed, and you know it's $25. I know I keep saying that. If you have 5 people, then yeah, it'd be more. But for someone who is that wants to have a more relaxed day, something like this, and then hitting the pools at your resort, this is an excellent option. If you're not going to the pools at the Disney resorts, you're sorely missing out, because they have the most amazing pools. All the pools at Walt Disney World are amazing. Even the pools at the value resorts are incredible. So if you're not going to the pools, and if I remember correctly, uh, one of the resorts or some of the resorts are now giving access to Typhoon Lagoon, I think, this summer. It's like you get it as a bonus just for being at the resort. You get like a day ticket to Typhoon Lagoon. I mean, that's a bonus in itself right there. So there are a lot of, I think a lot of people just see the Disney resorts as number one, transportation, because now you have the Disney transportation to get to and from, which is fantastic. That in itself alone is worth the price of admission to these resorts. But number two, they see it as a place to just sleep, and they don't take the time to fully experience and really explore where they're staying at, and they miss out on a lot.
Yeah, people need to stop being conned into this length of stay ticket and thinking that's the only thing they need to do. If you're going once a year, fine. But if you're going all the time, relax and start searching out other stuff because you're missing out on a lot of really cool
But
experiences.
But even if you're going once a year, like I understand like doing your favorite attractions, but those are a lot of the attractions have been there forever. By the time
Yep.
you hit all your favorites, take that time to do something different. Like step out of your comfort zone and do something different. There, there's so many other things to do at Disney. There's different tours. I mean, if you really look at some of the additional things that they provide or that are offered, um, even something as simple as taking an hour and taking a boat out on the Seven Seas Lagoon. Like I was just talking to someone about that today. I was like, man, I haven't done that in a while, and it's something that I personally want to do it. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how amazing it is to take a boat out on the Seven Seas Lagoon. And the last time that I did it for an hour's worth of, of a pontoon boat, it's like $60, and you can get like 7 or 8 people on that boat, and you split that cost up between 7 or 8 people. I mean, that's not really that bad for an hour's worth of excitement going out on the lake. And I mean, it really is fun. I mean, you're on the same, you pass right by those ferry boats and other boats, and you're just out there enjoying the beautiful scenery and are on a boat for an hour. And I mean, that's another experience that I think a lot of people overlook as well. It used to be a lot more popular when they ran the little Sprite boats. I don't, those smaller boats, that were a little bit faster. But the pontoon boats, man, taking that out on the lake and just enjoying a day out or enjoying an hour out there is amazing. And
Absolutely.
there's fishing. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. You could go to Fort. You could drive to uh or take a boat to Fort Wilderness and take a bike, rent a bike. It costs like, last time I rented a bike, I think it was $20 for like the whole day. And rent a bike and just ride around the trails. Go back in the woods. There's tons of trails that take you back into the woods of Fort Wilderness that you can explore. So there's a lot of options of things that you can do. Even just going to Fort Wilderness at night and doing the campfire sing along with Chip and Dale. These are things that people normally don't do, and you can get a bag's worth of s'mores, a s'mores kit for $10. That'll give you like 10, 20 s'mores, and you can have a great time back there too.
Yeah. I always encourage people to do things outside of the parks where they can, when they can. So hopefully more people take advantage.
So I know we've kind of uh, indirectly went into that topic, or went into our topic for this week's show, but of course, I know we are going to talk about our 5 must-dos at Walt Disney World, and I will let you guys. I don't know who wants to go first, but I've talked most of this episode, so I'll let you guys decide who wants to go first, and we'll get moving here.
Well, with Lisa's topics, I'd love to hear what she has on her mind when she came up with this.
Well, I was thinking, since those must do's are not played anymore, um, and things have changed a little bit. Some of the offerings are not the same, but I was thinking, and it's almost impossible for me just to do 5 things across all of the parks. So I just chose Magic Kingdom. And
Okay.
so I kind of went by 5 different themes. The first one was character, the second one was Disney history, The third one was favorites, family favorites. The fourth one is the coasters, and the fifth one are the F's. So I will go through and explain those. For Magic Kingdom, um, I always try to encourage people to do the character experiences, whether they're meeting Mickey for the first time, um, meeting the princesses, whatever their children or whatever the adults, whoever their favorite characters are, that's the only place that you're going to meet Disney characters unless you seek out dining, like Robert said. And that's something that's unique. You don't necessarily have to do the autograph book and do all of that, but just take some time to meet those characters and grab those pictures. The second thing must do was some of the Disney history, which includes some of those opening day attractions that are still there. Things like Jungle Cruise, Haunted Mansion, Dumbo, Carousel of Progress, It's a Small World, um, and then some of those soon after, like Peter Pan, etc. And then the third thing I would encourage people to do is their favorites. So a favorite, and we even met Michael over by Pirates. A favorite of our family is Pirates. That is a must do every single time. Every single time we hit Magic Kingdom. So if you have a favorite of one of your children or favorite of your own, I always encourage people, especially if they're, you know, life is a lot different if this is your one and only trip ever, so you want to hit those highlights that you've looked at forever. Um, the fourth area was the coasters because Kingdom does have a few fun coasters, Tron, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, um, Big Thunder Mountain, and Space Mountain are maybe the bigger ones. They're, my kids still love Goofy's Barnstormer.
Love Barnes.
What was that? They were like, "Man, that's fast." They didn't realize it was. They didn't realize that was such a short ride until they went the last time. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" So, anyways, so I would encourage people to seek out some of those coasters. A lot of the attractions are very family friendly, like some of those
Of course.
historical opening day attractions are very family friendly. Everyone can ride,
Mhm.
but I would say hit some of those coasters um, that maybe only those 48 inches and above can ride. And then the last one was fireworks, food, and parade friends. And because I encourage everyone to stay and watch the fireworks show. You will be, um, no matter what it is, in what era, um, the fireworks, you'll be tainted forever. Your 4th of July fireworks in your hometown will never never quite reach the the height of the projections and the fireworks. So no matter what, even with small kids, I try to tell people to make sure you see the fireworks. If you have time, catch a parade because the parades are not, again, like your hometown parade. They are quite unique. And then you could plan a whole entire area around food. But I would say thinking about food, plan your day around food, around any reservations or specific needs. And it could be that for us, we take a meal in, typically take in snacks, and then we do like one nice meal. Um, so those were my must dos, way more than just 5 single things, but that was my list of must dos.
And you brought up a good point there with food. I think that a lot of people, um, I think honestly, food is where you should start planning your day around, more so than attractions per se. Because attractions, I mean, you're kind of forced to, because attractions is kind of a day of thing. Even if you get Genie Plus, you still do that during the day. Um, food you have to book in advance, and then you got to kind of figure out like how long am I going to be at this restaurant. Sit down restaurants. I always had a family member in the past who would always like say, "Oh, I don't want to eat at a sit down restaurant." It wasn't that they didn't want to pay for it. It wasn't the cost. It was the time. It was always the time. Well, if we go to this place, we're going to be here for an hour and a half, and I don't want to waste that when I could be riding X attraction. So keep that in mind too when you're planning those restaurants. Sit down restaurants do tend to take a little bit longer because you're not grabbing your food, eating it up quick, and then leaving. So that is a really good point.
See, the one way I always look at the food again, there's a difference between people going for the first time and people that go on their annual trip.
Mm-hmm.
I always encourage them to pick somewhere different that you haven't eaten yet. Because I know, if you have a tradition, that's fine. But there's a difference between a tradition and just not knowing any better. Be Our Guest hasn't been tasty for years since they changed that menu. If you need to go meet Belle or the Beast, fine, go do it in Epcot. But don't just go there because that's what we do. There are other restaurants that you might find a new favorite. So explore, go somewhere that you've never, even if you're going to do a few certain things, pick one every trip that you have never gone to before and give it a try. Base it on the menu, base it on what's available, but stop going to the same 3 places on every trip and nowhere else because you're really missing out. And it's time to start exploring, like we said before. So that's one thing I try to do. I try to stay at a different hotel, resort each time I go. I wish there were more DVC resorts because there are some places I will never get to stay. I'll never get to stay at Caribbean Beach. I'll never get to stay at Port Orleans or French Quarter. So many beautiful resorts. And I'm not saying if you can, if value is most comfortable for you, go outside your comfort zone and go book Grand Floridian for $1,000 a night. Not in any way saying that. But if you always stay at movies, try going to animation, or if you're always doing Pop Century, give the All-Stars a shot. They're all basically the same layout. Once they're all updated, it's the same room. Try some new stuff, branch out, and find new favorites. If you have a favorite character, your child has a favorite character, make sure that you always go to see the characters that you can. If it's an hour wait, do you really need a photo with every character? Like you said, Robert, if it's more important to be writing things. So determine with your family what needs to be the focus or what should be the focus. If your kids are really into the characters and it means not getting to ride one thing that day, ride it the next time you're in the park tomorrow or the next day. So you don't have to go on the same rides all the time. You've been on Small World. That's fantastic. You did it already. It's going to be the same exact thing next time. Go find something and wait on that line instead. So I guess the theme here is just branch out and find new things to do. And one thing I always do is, I mentioned before, a resort hop. Even if you can't go to multiple, go visit one you haven't been to yet, especially if it's something you can more easily get to. If the Skyliner is just a way for you to get to a one of the parks, get off, walk around if you have that kind of time. If it's too hot or if it's going to rain, maybe you don't rush to Epcot. You can get in anytime you want, spend the morning at the hotels or resorts, and then go to the park later in the day or flip it.
Yeah.
So.
There's so much more to see. I like that perspective, finding something new.
Yeah.
And we try to do something new each trip down, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer to having done a lot of the things. So we're always looking for the newest release.
I haven't done miniature golf there in forever.
Yeah.
I haven't done the boats in forever. That's another great one.
Yeah.
So
it's time to revisit.
It is.
Yeah. And that was gonna be one of my things, was doing something different. Like I stated earlier, doing the boats, doing the mini golf. Heck, even doing the golf. If you're not a pro golfer, going out to the golf course. I mean, they have clubs you can rent. Even just going to the driving range or doing the Oak Tree Trail golf course, which is more the walking trail, which is kind of more for the novice golfers. It's a smaller course. doing that, because even in like doing the golfing, you're out in the beautiful nature. Those courses are gorgeous. I've done all of them, and they are all gorgeous. The Lake Buena Vista course is surrounded by water. It's absolutely beautiful. The Magnolia and Palm courses are, you know, I mean, I've seen turkeys out there. I've seen gators out there. I've seen everything you can imagine out there, on those courses. Birds. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful out there. So take the time to really enjoy. You're kind of enjoying not only just what Disney has to offer, but Florida. Really enjoying the nature that's around the area, and kind of enjoying everything that they have to offer. And I totally agree with Michael on that. That is probably my biggest thing, is stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something different. Those rides and attractions will always be there. I know, you travel once a year, you want to do your favorites, but there's so many amazing things out there to try, so many amazing restaurants. You don't have to go to Be Our Guest for the 8th time, which is quite honestly never been a good restaurant since the day that it opened. I've never had a good meal there once.
Oh, I used to like
Guys.
the quick service lunches.
Okay, yes, I take that back.
That was
Quick service was
our
good.
favorite. But
They had a roast pork at the quick service that was really good. It was like a bowl
Sure
of mashed
did.
potatoes, and that was fantastic. Yes.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, that was awesome. But other than that,
bringing back the past. But
even with the breakfast, it was never. I don't know. I'm so jaded by the dinner. I've never had a good experience. But yeah, there are a lot of amazing things to do at Disney. There's so much to do. You can't do it all in one trip. I guess the point of the 5 must do's, and I'll kind of wrap this up here because we're at that hour mark here, a little over an hour here, and I don't want to keep these guys for too long here. But I will say that the biggest thing is stepping out of your comfort zone and trying something different. Really, really looking at what Disney has to offer. Now, if it's your first time, go do all the first time things. Ride Guardians, fight to get that Tron like cycle run. Uh, virtual queue. Do all those things. Go eat in the castle. Whatever those things are that you want to do those things. But if it is not your first time, step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Really take a look and kind of dive. If you have a travel agent, speak to them. They have different things. There's tours that you can do. Go to the Keys to the Kingdom tour. That's an amazing tour. They take you into the utilidors. You get to see, a Disney-fied version of how the magic is made at Magic Kingdom. That is an amazing tour. There's some tours at Epcot that are amazing. Behind the Seeds tour, going into the greenhouse at the Land Pavilion, I've done that 4 times myself. It is such an amazing tour. So there are so many other things that you can do at the parks besides, the parks. And when you really step back and look and take the time to really fully, plan out something that is completely different, I guarantee you it'll be like experience the parks all over again. And when I do these things myself, after having, going to the Disney parks my whole life, because I've lived here and going as much as I have throughout my life, it's always nice to do something different and experience, almost like I'm experiencing it for the first time. So it really does make for a more memorable experience. So, all right. Well, that being said, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Do you guys have any final thoughts that you want to put out there before we wrap this up?
I hope we opened up some people's eyes and motivated them to start checking out some new stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know what, guys, it's always a pleasure to have you both on here. Luella couldn't be here this week, but she will be with us next week. And we always wish Brittany the best because she has her new baby, and we're so excited because it's so cute. And I'm sure we all collectively think it's cute. So I'm just going to say that for everybody.
of course, babies, their whole little family, so sweet.
So we
Luella, did you mention Luella?
I did mention Luella. She will be back next week. So we look forward to having her and maybe we'll pose the question to her next week and maybe find
Ooh,
out some things that
about
we didn't know
Disney.
about at Disneyland, that maybe
Yeah.
some tours or something. I know they do the Walk with Walt tour over there, or In Walt's Footsteps. I can't remember the exact name, but they do a tour over there where you know, basically follow Walt's footsteps at Disneyland, which is, oh my God, that's an amazing. I haven't done it myself yet, but just the description of it alone, yeah, next time I go to Disneyland, that's on my list.
That's on my list too. I've done the several tours at Magic Kingdom,
Mhm.
at Disney World, but I've not done them at Land. I would love to do that.
And I would really love to hear what she has to say because, it's going to be a whole different list. And
Yeah,
for someone like her who goes as frequently as she does, what are the things she looks forward to doing?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yep.
And it's a much smaller park. They don't have as much square footage as we do here, or square miles as we do here in Orlando. So there's a lot less. I mean, of course, here in Orlando, we have a lot more things that you may not normally do because, we have so much more to do here. But there's a lot less to do over there. Just so it'll be interesting to see what those things are. So we'll put a pin in that for next week. We'll make sure to ask her that first and foremost when she comes on again next week. But that being said, we certainly appreciate you guys joining us every week on Tuesday nights. I apologize for our absence last week, but we do this every week at 8:30 on Tuesdays, and we also post live on Fridays at 5 p.m. on your favorite podcasting platform. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. But that being said, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. We certainly appreciate you guys joining us and spending this time with us. And as they always say, if you can dream it, you can do it. So if you can dream it this week, you can definitely do it. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and we will see you next week.
Good night.
Yes, good night.